Uh, Thank you very much for participating in our panel. To start with, I wanted to ask each of you to go around and introduce yourself, and please tell us just a couple of words about your firm.
So my name is Gaurav Sharma. I work with Signage Systems. We have our head office is in Noida. We have two other offices in India. One is in Dehradun, another one is in Karnal. We also have a small operations out of Philippines. So our primary business is a staff augmentation. We work we are growing a lot in healthcare section. But other than that, we have different domains such as engineering, healthcare. We do a lot of business in infrastructure, and then applications is the another domain we have.
Hi, I'm Praveen Rana. Basically, I'm a co-founder of the company Prismagic Solutions. We founded this company 3 years back, very young, still trying to start walking. But yeah, it's a good experience, and I believe I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now. We started some of the good companies in Noida. I was instrumental in actually bringing those operations from even 1 or 2, where I was the first employee, to maybe around 300 plus today. So as far as Prismagic goes, we are into the same space. I mean, we are looking for direct client business as well as some RPO business. That's what it is.
Hi, myself Shishir. I'm working for Droices, and we are into staff augmentation as well as we are into product development too. We are into making software for casino and gaming in Vegas. We have an office headquartered in Santa Clara, and then Vegas. In offshore, we are into Noida, Ahmedabad, as well as in Nagpur too. So staffing augmentation, yes, we are equally balanced in staffing augmentation as well as into software development too. That's it.
Thank you. And I guess Samir, no need to introduce. So what I'll do is I have a few questions for the panelists that I will ask, and then I would suggest I will ask for questions from the audience. So as you go ahead, if you can start thinking of your questions. So the first question is to all the panelists. As industry leaders in the staffing industry, can you just tell us about the challenges that you see today for the industry? Yeah, please.
The major challenges we have now these days in terms of subcontracting for especially the visa issues, there are H1B, there are many issues in the H1B. The other thing is delivery. The third thing which majorly we have is especially the delivery issues. The moment we submit the candidates after the confirmations and deals should be done, they are not joining. There might be some reason. There are so many reasons for not joining the project. Main reason would be to reach out because in this profession, you have to reach out to the right candidate, especially as we have some session where you have to spend more time with the candidate. So that is the lacking at this moment. So because we are involved into sourcing resume, for that particular skills. So if we save those time, we can spend more time with the candidate. We have some insight about the candidate. Why the candidate is interested relocating from New Jersey to California? There's no point. I mean, definitely the family would be there, or there are some other reason why. So we have to, these are the area which I think would be I suggest for the recruiters to spend more time with the candidates to get insight and then submit the candidates, so we can minimize the delivery issues.
And with all the pressure of shrinking the time to submit resumes, that gets even harder and harder.
Exactly. That yes. But yeah, whatever resume we submit, that will be a short candidate. We can minimize.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think and I'm sick with this idea. So the challenge for me still is finding the right talent for the requirements, for the solution our clients are looking for. And I think at the employment rate in United States, 3.5% approximately, we still have a lot of candidates looking for the job, but these candidates who are looking for the job are not the ones, they might be the right fit for the requirements we are working on. And as in the presentation of Peter, we have almost 70% passive candidates who are either looking or not looking, but there are 70% passive candidates. If there's a solution, or if there is a tool which can help us in reaching out to all those 70% passive candidates, I think that would be a really step up for all the recruiting team.
Thank you.
I think from my side, if you look at the industry trend from last 10 to 15 years, if you look at it, while the candidates, while the consultants have increased in their way they conduct themselves, I think the recruitment industry as such has not been able to adapt to those changes as well. We still are doing the business same way, going to the job boards, trying to find those active candidates. So as soon as a job comes, the recruiter jumps on the same. So you look at it. I mean, there are 20 recruiters in a one company who are working on the same client, and then there are 20 different vendors. So 400 recruiters suddenly trying to jump over Dice, Monster, or any job boards, and trying to find out the same talent, trying to tap the same talent, sending them the. That's why in your conversation you rightly said. I mean, candidates getting emails from multiple sources for the same job. I mean, you call the candidate and he says, "Oh, is this the job you're calling for?" So I believe there is a lot of challenge for the recruitment industry to go above and beyond of how we are conducting our business. I think that's the main challenge. And then most of companies now with their offshore centers have not been able to adapt to what is going to change because the workplace, even when we are sitting here in India and doing that business, we have adopted to the time zones, and we have done everything. But adapting to the culture that is there, that's a challenge. And most of the companies now have offshore centers of like 200, 300 recruiters, 500 recruiters. How do you get that sense back to your operations? That's the biggest challenge, I guess, today in the industry.
Thank you. And my next question, I think, is a segue to this. So, I mean, you mentioned the candidate experience with not being able for the recruiters to spend enough time with them, adapting to the various cultures. And what do you think of the candidate experience? How important is it to the success of a search? What they experience from interaction with the recruiter all the way down through the hire. Can you talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on candidate experience today and the importance of to the success?
I think that's the major part of any success. I mean, candidate experience. I was just listening to one of the conversations, I guess, by you. Even today, most of our candidate success should come from the referrals. And that referral will only be built upon the success of how a recruiter conducts that business. Even if there is a recruiter who places, suppose, one candidate, and it's a 6-month project. I mean, in 2 years' time, I as a recruiter, even if I have just started as a fresher, should be able to place at least 3 candidates every year just by reference. And the recruiters and the candidates would be calling me because I have given them that kind of experience. I think that is 3 placements in a year when I was making just 10 placements a year, just purely by reference, is going to increase my productivity by 30% without doing anything. I mean, keep my rest work assured. So I agree this 100% that there is definitely, the candidate experience is definitely one of the most important criteria today.
Thank you.
I believe, and it can be a reason. I don't know what I think industry should train all the recruiting team in a way that we are in a relationship business. Our business depends on 2 things: clients and candidates. If we cannot build a relationship with the candidates, we are not going to be successful. And I think it is also the industry trend. There's so much of pressure on the recruiters for the submissions and all other things. And I'm talking from a very practical perspective. Because of that pressure, most of the recruiting team, I'm not talking about everyone. There are recruiters who do the things differently, but there are so many recruiters who really believe in sending mass mails, which is a disaster. You just send tons of mass mails and keep waiting for the responses. You do not like to spend the time on the phone. And another very important thing which need to be addressed is keeping the candidates updated with the status of their candidature on every single step. That is a feedback I always get from the candidates that I have been submitted. I never heard back from the candidate, and I've got an email from two or three different recruiters 10 times in a very short period. So I think these trends need to be changed.
Thank you.
From my point of view, relationship works. So, and definitely networking. In your staffing, it doesn't matter you place a candidate or not, but if you are in touch with the candidate, let's say if candidates you placed are on project, you follow up regularly with the candidate, that candidate give you more reference at the same time. As well as if the candidate is not placed by you, but still you are in touch with the candidate, in that case also candidate give you a reference too, right? So you will get more insight from the candidate that what exactly he's looking for. He maybe help you out to give you more references, maybe from the same requirement, maybe for the different requirements. So from my point of view, the relationship that definitely work.
Thank you. And now question to Samir. So I know, Samir, you and with our engineering team have spent a lot of time trying to figure out how artificial intelligence can address these challenges. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on AI and potentially how it could help?
Thank you for sharing the real-time challenges of the staffing markets in the industry and what you're going through it. And these are like very consistent messages we get it from across the industry. So I think we'll try to, if I had to take this into like a 3 categories, one is the right sourcing at a speed, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is how do we improve candidate engagement at a different levels, as you rightly said, right? We talk about it. And number 3 is, as we talk about the size of the active job seeker pool is so small, but the outsize of the passive candidates who are not really looking, but if you have the great job, the location, the time, and you could explore like another 70-80% of those candidates that literally the whole staffing industry is not even looking into it, right? There are not very specific tools out there. So if I had to go back to the AI, especially the speed and accuracy, and we see that the client sends 500,000 mass emails in a month or in a week, or I don't know, I don't even have the counts. So, but I think that's so inefficient, and in fact it damages the reputation of the business itself, because if the same candidate gets for the same job for 3, 4, 5 different recruiters, and if that happens every single day, not only the candidate won't come to you, but also talk to other consultants that he has friends out in the market saying that don't even work with them because I can't even handle the kind of spam they get into it. So on top of that, we have the Spam Act laws in the US that's really serious, puts in serious trouble, but in the damage it causes to you. So AI really tried to address the exact same problem, right? So if you look at the AI sourcing, so what we're trying to tell you is you take the job description, if we have your internal candidate database, or if you are signed up with external job portals, doesn't matter whatever is that, you apply that AI and let the algorithm pull the top 10 candidates. Instead of you send to 1,000 candidates who's probably not even interested in this, or it doesn't even match those candidates, take those 10 candidates that the algorithm gives you, look into that, who can be a good fit, pick up the top 3 candidates, pick up a phone and call them, right? But this getting you the top 10 candidates out of the job description happens in less than a minute. And you have so much time. Actually, address the second problem is building the candidate, engaging the candidate, right? You build we all rightly talking about, it's all about relationship building, right? And maybe even if the candidate is not available, maybe there's some constraints in the location or the bill rates or whatever happens, but the experience that the recruiter or the staffing company, the management built with the candidate goes a long way through referrals. Referrals is a powerful way of getting the great candidates, especially in the market. So, I mean, say industry says, the top quality candidates, 25% of top quality candidates take the next job only on referrals. Can you believe that? So I think the candidate engagement addresses by the AI just because you reach out to those candidates. Your recruiter has more time. How many? Do you really track how much time the recruiters spend on a phone with the candidates? It's a great way to measure how your firm is building the candidate engagement experience. And also another interesting issue that we always hear is the candidate applies for the job through a resume and they don't hear anything about it, right? But is there a mechanism that AI helps you? Again, the way we are trying to do is, build a mechanism where if the candidate gets submitted, can the system send the text message right out of the, hey, we're available for, are you available for tomorrow, next week, or whatever is that? And the amount of time that the conversation happens between the recruiter and the candidate, I don't want to blame all of that to the recruiters because recruiters calls the candidates not available. And the phone tag for 2-3 times and they left it out, right? But still have the bad experience with the candidate because they're never able to get a hold of the recruiter. But how about the candidate, actually the system sends a text message to the candidate, says, hey, I think we're interested, what is the best time to call you back? Boom, he finds a 5 p.m., I'm out of the client project, you call me. You set up a time and call. And every of that information stays in the system. And then you call them or you have the information out there. You know how much of that candidate engaged, the experience that could build to the candidate. I said, these guys are great, they follow through it, they have all the information. Even if some other recruiter calling the candidate, you search the candidate name, it pops up, who called them, what information was out there. So you know that whether they want to call it back or refer back to the same recruiter. So they have that experience to build into it. All is that possible with AI. And if this is the time, I think we should use the AI to the advantage of doing it. And the third point is the passive candidate pool that we talk about the technology. It is going to be the game changer because you saw the chart that I've shared to you. You have more jobs, less candidates. Okay, this never happened in history. And this started in 2016, and it's not going to back off. It's going to be a 3.5% unemployment rate, strong GDP growth for a US economy. It's good for is there a mechanism that AI helps you? Again, the way we are trying to do is, build a mechanism where if the candidate gets submitted, can the system send the text message right out of the, hey, we're available for, are you available for tomorrow, next week, or whatever is that? And the amount of time that the conversation happens between the recruiter and the candidate, I don't want to blame all of that to the recruiters because recruiters calls the candidates not available. And the phone tag for 2-3 times and they left it out, right? But still have the bad experience with the candidate because they're never able to get a hold of the recruiter. But how about the candidate, actually the system sends a text message to the candidate, says, hey, I think we're interested, what is the best time to call you back? Boom, he finds a 5 p.m., I'm out of the client project, you call me. You set up a time and call. And every of that information stays in the system. And then you call them or you have the information out there. You know how much of that candidate engaged, the experience that could build to the candidate. I said, these guys are great, they follow through it, they have all the information. Even if some other recruiter calling the candidate, you search the candidate name, it pops up, who called them, what information was out there. So you know that whether they want to call it back or refer back to the same recruiter. So they have that experience to build into it. All is that possible with AI. And if this is the time, I think we should use the AI to the advantage of doing it. And the third point is the passive candidate pool that we talk about the technology. It is going to be the game changer because you saw the chart that I've shared to you. You have more jobs, less candidates. Okay, this never happened in history. And this started in 2016, and it's not going to back off. It's going to be a 3.5% unemployment rate, strong GDP growth for a US economy. It's good for the recruitment firms because this business is going to flourish. But the problem is also comes with it because your lowest unemployment rate. You know what, IT engineering staffing have probably negative unemployment rate. I don't know the statistics, but I can safely guess it. They have more jobs than the candidates out, and significantly lower numbers. So your best bet is to not only find the talent, find the faster talent, but then how do you tap the talent that's not actually actively seeking the jobs, but you can actually have an opportunity to go after. So I think my message to it is, if you are not strongly advocating the technology piece in AI-driven ATS platforms or other tools that you don't embrace it, I think it will seriously put you in a disadvantaged spot competing with the competitors. The people who use that efficiently and effectively, I think, will continue to take advantage of this growing US and outside economy.
Thank you. So question now again to the panelists. I mean, we can see there's a lot of excitement and we're really excited about artificial intelligence. I think it's important to understand well and go at this technology with our eyes open. So my question to you is, can you talk to us about your opinion? What's your expectation of artificial intelligence? And please talk about some of the positives, but also do touch base on some limitations as you see or potential challenges as you see, because I think it's important to get a balanced view, and I'm really interested in hearing from you what you think.
So my philosophy is, any recruiter in coming time will be successful. His success would be depending on the way or on the technology. So the way a recruiter will automate himself will be his success in coming time. And I think AI will play a very, very instrumental role in that thing. So, and I think, as the panel said, it is still the biggest challenge to find the right person. So there are so many things in a requirement that we just bypass. When we are reading a requirement, when we are looking a job description, when we are trying to understand a job description, we miss a lot of things. We miss the status of the project. We miss a lot of things. If AI can work in that, and I think there's another thing we can talk about is the human bias. So if all those things, so there can be requirement where it says the client is only looking for female candidates, or maybe there are some other terms. If all those things can be taken care of through AI, I think that'll be a success.
I think biggest challenge today, when you talk about automating a search, or when you talk, so there is still automation. There is not the artificial intelligence that being used as of now. When I say automation, you give a requirement, and most of the job boards or most of the search engines, what they do is they will try to match the key criterias, or maybe the key skills. So they will say, okay, required, good to have. They will try to maybe put their ranking according to how many times the word has come in the resume, how many times. So and most of the search engines today are doing the same thing. They are most of the time doing the keyword search rather than trying to search while I believe that keyword search is just a 10 to 20% of the work. 80% of the work is not the keyword search. It is what the candidate is doing. Is he able to solve the problem that the requirement is trying to figure out? That is where the AI comes in picture. Can the AI systems today be so intelligent that they can look at the requirement, try to find out the problem, what the manager is having, and can he resolve that problem in the resume? If that is the kind of automation we can get to, if that is the kind of artificial intelligence we can get to, that is the real success of an artificial intelligence. If you talk about negatives of this, or maybe limitations, I will not say negatives, it's too harsh, but if you talk about limitations, I believe the human bias is still a biggest factor today in the recruitment industry. When I go and speak to some people and we talk about artificial intelligence and how the automation will do, most of the recruiters or most of the people think that, okay, is this going to take away the staffing industry? Is this going to take away, so the client can just put an artificial intelligence system and say, okay, I'll put an artificial intelligence, I don't need a staffing firm. Or maybe I would not need recruiters. Will that ever happen?
No.
No, it can never happen, because at the end of the day,
the relationship, the human bias, the talking to a, so artificial intelligence can only tell me, okay, these are the 10 people who match perfectly to the job. But who is going to make that relationship? Who is, like Samir said, I mean, 25% of the people are still getting hired by references. Where will that work come from? So I believe artificial intelligence is definitely the future, but it has still a long way to go.
Of course.
From my point of view, the artificial intelligence will help us. I mean, that tool will help us to find a candidate not only on the basis of title, the keywords, but also the role and responsibility. The moment we put all this thing information, as I've seen the demo also, the moment we put all this, in the system, we find a candidate and show the accuracy that as per the role and responsibility. Maybe there are a few candidates who mention the key skills in their summary part, but we are sourcing a candidate who actually did that job in past, are expert in that field. So definitely that helps us to find that kind of candidate. But yeah, limitation must be there, yeah, but because it maybe sometimes it happens like we can send those emails, or we can reach out to the candidate, might be not fit for that role, might be not available. There might be certain things that we can debate on. But yeah, for me, artificial intelligence would be the next future for the sourcing, would be.
Thank you. I wanted now to open the panel to questions from our audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. Thank you. I think I should take one of the microphones. Perhaps our IT can help, or we have one over there. Great. I'll just leave this one here, just in case. So, by the way, sorry, before you ask the question, please say your name and your firm, and then address the question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kaushal. I work with Voluble Systems. So my question is to actually anyone out there. So you have been the leader in the industry and you know how it all works. Peter, you talk about AI, and I truly believe in this. It gives you speed, accuracy, and then we talk about candidate experience. I would say AI is not going to be really instrumental in candidate experience, but it is very, very crucial instrumental in recruiter experience as well, because this facilitates too many tools and instruments which can give speed, accuracy, and more success to the recruiters. But apart from this, I mean, the question is, do you guys really think some big disruption coming to the recruitment industry? Like, for an example, Netflix for entertainment industry, and then Uber for the transportation. So these are the big time disruptions which recently happened. Is there anything like this big gonna happen to the recruitment industry? And if it is there, anything like this, can you guys put us some more light on this and let us know? Thank you.
Thank you. Please, who wants to take first?
Okay, Kaushal, I believe that's a question, as I was saying in my previous thing also. I mean, whenever you talk about AI, whenever you talk about a future thing, most of us fear with the disruption it is going to cause. I mean, there are technological advantages, and then there are some things which are. What I believe is the AI currently, what we are talking about, is giving us a 20 to 30% of what needs to be done. And it is saving your time, it is saving some of the very, very important parameters when it comes to candidate experience when he is first contacted. But I believe that the 80% of the job or 70% of the job of a recruiter is still to maintain that relationship, is still to speak to that guy, still trying to make that relationship and give him that job scenario. So from my perspective, I don't believe that this is going to be a big, big disruption in terms of how the candidates are built and how the relationships are built, how the clients are managed. It is definitely going to be a big time disruption in terms of how a recruiter works and how a recruiter approaches a candidate. So it is definitely going to be at that level. But from an industry perspective, I still believe that it's a long way to go.
Kaushal, from my point of view, earlier we have portals, right, like Dice and Monster. Later on, ATS comes into picture, right, that help you to find a right candidate, reach out to the candidate who are suitable for that job. Similarly, this is the next level. So from my perspective, I mean, this is the, again, help the recruiters to get a right candidate, because it's a competition, right? So let's say if there's one client having 10 vendors, they all are working on the same requirements, so definitely it help you to reach the right candidate for the right particular requirements. That's it from my end.
So Kaushal, answering your question in a very, very simple way. So resume is an advertisement. Resume is a billboard, but we still don't buy the product just by seeing the billboard. We still go to the store, we still see the product, we still talk to the store manager, and then we buy. So similarly, just looking at the resume, AI might tell you that this would be a fit for the job, but until you talk to them, you'll not find out that they are the right person or they are the right solution for what client is looking for. That's my perspective.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I totally agree with all the panel here. So one just analogy I wanted to give you. 1980s, 70s and 80s when Ford were automating the whole the plant. Now the entire industry, automation, the automobile industry. I mean, there are a lot of other industries. I'm just giving an example. Automobile industry. From beginning to the finish is no person involved other than managing, operating the controls. The entire car was built on completely by the robots and machines, right? Because that's the thing. It's a particle. It's a car, right? It's not human. But the recruitment industry is all about humans. It's a people industry. So fortunately, they cannot be automated. People cannot be automated. So it's so people to people, person to person cannot be replicated. But we can make those, the individuals and the firms and the people of communications can be enhanced, can make them more productive, can do more things with less effort, or can do more business with the same set of people, right? So it's a people industry. So it just these technologies is going to enhance, can help you better. But it cannot be automated like what happened with automobile industry.
Thank you. Other questions? Please.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's working, right?
Now it's working.
Yeah. So I'm Karthikeya, and I'm from Terai Data Labs. I have a question related to the AI and automation, and I want to understand from you. We understand that all automation in AI comes from the logic and self-learning. So the first important part is at what stage we are when we are planning to make it live. What sort of percentage of self-learning would already be in the system once we go live with the shortlisting of the candidates, using the system. That's very important because, as a concept, every organization is bringing AI in place, but it's also important what sort of results we are getting out of it, because the core is result, is not the logic which we put behind. And how much is the core industry, I would say, inputs we have taken while developing the product, because that's something would be the core. As a technical team, and I've seen this difference while you work in a delivery and when you sit with the IT teams, their understanding and delivery requirements are completely different, right? So what will be the internal testing success, which is already there, and what percentage do you feel at this point of time the system is ready to give the results, right? And the second thing which I would like to understand, the startups or the smaller organizations which do not have I would say, thousands of database in place, internal database in place. How are you planning to develop a product, or a system that, with the help of job boards, they can have relevant profiles imported in the database, and they can proceed and they can grow steadily with, I would say, less time and duration.
Thank you. I believe that's a question for Samir,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah. If I had to answer the second question, I'll take the second as first question. I think resume harvesting was built to do that. What we looking into what other ATSs have done with it compared to what we want to do it. So we have studied that, and our team especially, and I would love to have Amar to actually address that, but I'll talk to about it. He's the guy who is behind, build these platforms, and his team. So when we do the harvesting, there's again, the keyword search is a key, but it's not like matching the frequency of keywords to the job, to the resume, right? There are a lot of things, the contextual, that's why we call it just not automation, but it's an AI. So, a few things, not talking about super details about it, the candidate location. So the candidate industry, right? We have, match the candidate works in the banking and financial sectors. If the job related to that, that's relevant. And then what are the number of positions that held in the same industry in the past, right? And let's say another interesting thing that I wanted to, I think we built into the system, I think very helpful and I think very intelligent is, so if you look for a Java profile, Java programmer, right? And if the keyword search puts into it, and anywhere that happens in the Java, the number of times the Java appears, let's say the candidate has 10 years experience in the total industry, and the last 6 years worked in as a Java programmer, architect, different things, and the number of the keyword repetitions is super high, and then when you search, the candidate comes up as his top candidate. But that candidate today is not coding anything. Last 4 years, the candidate moved into the architect or operations, or maybe he's completely into different things. Then if the profile comes up, boom, it's relevant because there's too much of frequency of the keywords, but it's not relevant today, right? So we look into it, what is the latest project that's relevant and frequency? So we build very sophisticated algorithm just behind, just do all these things, not just the one. But I mean, if I have to take, I think we probably have 100 different scenarios. We look into it before we pull you the candidate. It's a very sophisticated algorithm. Do we have a room to improve? Absolutely. We have tons of room to improve it. But that's why we do it, right? I mean, we have the whole research goes into it. So, I mean, yeah, there is opportunities for room, but it is sophisticated. But we also learn from the industry too, right? Another thing actually, and maybe I don't know if it's relevant, but I can tell you. So it's very interesting that there's a lot of customers talks about to our team saying that, hey, the hiring manager knows what he or she wants it, but give a job description is kind of outdated, right? But the recruiter know because the recruiter has been working with the hiring manager for the last 4 or 5 years. They know exactly what kind of profile, but the job description is very vague and not relevant. How is AI is going to help with that? AI doesn't know that, right? So again, that's a limitation we're talking about, right? So we expect that, so because it's a machine, it's not a human brain, right? It doesn't know, it doesn't have a contextual sense of the algorithm. So the underlying assumption is you have the accurate job description, right? That's why we need recruiters, their experience counts. The higher the experience the recruiter have working with the manager is invaluable. You cannot automate that. Because the job description, somebody has to, okay, you know what, I know the recruiter says, the hiring manager says Java or a business analyst for a financial services industry, but they need experience in derivatives market, they need experience in high volume trading market, whatever the different mechanisms into it. Do we have that information? If it doesn't have it, it's not going to go. So the recruiter's intervention and updating the job description is required to get you the right profile. So there are some limitations. Some we probably not able to solve it because we can't do that. But machine learning, we actually addressing this issue too, because what happens is it's coming through to the Ceipal platform. So what we're looking into is if the same client, if the same job description, and we know the candidates who got placed for that, so the algorithm can profile the client, candidate, and job as the 3 matching parameters. And sometimes it's the same client, same location, same job. We know even if it's a wrong job description, based on the previous successful closures, system actually start learning and then restructuring the keywords and then giving a better outcome of the results of the AIs. So those are the evaluation that AI is we're going to continue to make into it. But the one thing that we were never able to automate, none of them, is the human interaction.
The important part which you mentioned was that, considering what was the last experience, that plays an important role, because if you go to certain job portals, they also have AI, integrated. But the challenges which we've seen is, they do not consider the last experiences or the role which the person or candidate has been into. So I think, if that's been catered, it will give a lot of, I would say, decent results coming into picture. Thank you.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, I want to take one or two more questions. So and probably end it, please.
Hello everyone, this is Ayush from Business Integra. So my question is basically related to the biggest problem right now in the staffing industry. For me, it's not budget. For me, it's not time. I can say that AI is all about time saving and reducing human efforts. We all know. But for me, the biggest challenge of this industry right now is a clear fight between fake and genuine candidates. Right? So how AI is going to help me out in screening out that, because as if it is going to give me the results of 50 or 100 candidates, best profile out of thousands, I can bet and I am 100% sure that it will fetch me out 50 or 100 most fake profiles of the market. Because a perfect profile is a made up profile. So how it is going to differentiate between a fake profile and a genuine profile? What will be the parameters, what will be the variables that it is going to consider when fetching the profiles?
Thank you. Briefly, before Samir answers, I'm curious for the panelists to just address how big of this inaccurate or fake profiles is it? Have you guys experienced it? And is this tell us a little bit how you deal with this briefly, and then we can have Samir talk about AI.
I think it depends from the business to business. If we were working with system integrators and if we are working with some of the cop-to-cop candidates, we have this issue.
How do you deal with it today?
So I think it's all about talking to the candidate, and I think there are small techniques. We talk about the education, we talk about their employment. We also ask the candidates that there will be a thorough employment check. Do you think all these jobs you have mentioned, all these contracts you have mentioned would come through in a background check? So I think these are some of the things we do, but it would be interesting to know if AI can work in this direction.
Great.
It's a great question though, and it's a very common problem in industry. And one thing that we are working and addressing it is, I don't think we can eliminate completely, but we can give the stickers on who could be a possible fake candidate, right? So there are sources out there. Obviously, the LinkedIn is a public platform that you can check, and also there are platforms like Stack Overflow, GitHub, and other public platforms that if the candidate has been having conversations, have any traces about the candidate, when you actually take the candidate Google search, and if you see the candidate have a certain experience, it's not like, okay, I have 10 years in Java experience, can the system confirm? Probably, I don't think. We could, unless we see the data out there, somebody has to put the data. But somebody has created a 10 years of Java profile but never worked in the Java, then I think we generally get the profile because every programmer has some trace somewhere that has commented, he worked on it, did something on it. So I think that can able to give some flags and okay, hey, check on this candidate just because we didn't see any information that's out there in the public domains. That's one way to address that. But can we address the entire problem? I don't know today. Maybe, that's something for the future.
My personal suggestion will be that if AI can work out, suppose 2 or 3 candidates with different name, different phones, and different email ID, they are having exactly same profiles, same clients, same durations. It happens. So if AI can do that and screen out, hey, these 3 candidates are having exactly same profiles. So maybe potential fake.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. We'll take. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Amar, where is Amar? Okay. So maybe yeah.
Plus, I would like to ask Ceipal AI team that how many recruiters are involved in this introducing AI into staffing in your team? Because if I'm going to build a robot that is going to operate on humans, obviously I will ask doctors that how to do that.
I'm sorry. I didn't get the question.
Do you have any industry-specific people Yeah, industry-specific peoples or senior recruiters from industry helping you out, putting more informations, more factors, more values in your AI systems.
We have 25 sales teams, almost 60 support staff that interact every single day with tens and tens of recruiters. So the information they collect, the problems they discuss about it, is such a valuable information for our team to curate the challenges and talk about it. So it's not about recruiters, but our team, we have almost 65, 70 member team, works with all the clientels, their recruiters, their recruitment managers, and the data they collect is what we really use and curate and basically test the platform out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the panel. Very insightful information. I appreciate it, and thank you for the questions. I will end the panel now.